Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at the linear pattern tool on Onshape. What I want you to do before we get started is I want you to have ready the shape that you want to pattern or a 3D object that you have made. I've just made a duck shape. You can go ahead and pause the video until you've made whatever 3D element you like. Okay, the linear pattern tool can be used in a couple of different ways. The first is by patterning full parts, like the one I've got at the minute. These are separate elements that are disconnected to any solid object in your studio. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is we've talked a little bit about some of these tools here. So we talked about the fillet, the chamfer, we talked about the mirror. We're just going to go one back from the mirror tool and it should look like a grid. If it's not, it is this button, but you might just need to click the drop down and you might have one of these. You want to click where it says linear pattern tool. And then you're going to click the part you want to pattern. This is hopefully the part that you've just drawn up that you've already made. And you just click on that. And as it is, the whole silhouette should go orange. And what we need to do now is we need to choose what direction we want to pattern it in. You can click on any straight line when it comes to direction. So I can click on a plane, I can click on a straight line, I can even click on one of the straight lines I've already drawn and it will repeat it in the axis. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to click on just a straight line here of this plane. And because I've clicked on a plane, it's going to project that upwards away from the plane. So it's using the plane as a normal draw. And what I can do now is I can set the distance manually. There's no drag arrow in the part pattern tool, but what I can do is I can set the distance manually. So I can set that to 50. And I can choose in instance count how many ducks I want. So say you want 5, just type in 5, and it's going to pattern it 5 times. If I wanted a row of ducks rather than a stack, what I'd do is I would just get rid of the top plane in my direction, and I would repeat that in the right plane. So it's drawing through the right plane. And I've got my row of 5 ducks. Maybe I want to set that to 75. Lovely. And you've got your row shapes. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you is almost exactly the same, but I'm going to need a big surface on which to do this. So I'm just going to make on the front plane, I'm just going to make a wall or a solid surface. You might have whatever working model you've got as your backdrop or your landing or your board, or everything that you're laying your components down on. For example, you might have, so you're doing a coat rack, you might have a hook that you've extended out, and yours is going to be a lot more fancy than this, but it might have a hook on it, it might have some fillets on it, and look a bit more kempt. Sometimes you might just want to pattern that, and you might want to just pattern that so you've got 5 of those along this board so you can hang 5 coats on it, or stack 5 things, or as many repeated patterns as necessary for the function that you want. And you can do this in exactly the same way. So you're going to click on the linear pattern tool. However, instead of part pattern in this drop down, I've said this before, this is the bit I always forget to do. Instead of part pattern, you're going to click the drop down and you're going to click feature pattern. And this is going to allow you to repeat any feature on that part. So that might be an extrude, it might be a remove, it might be a fillet, it might be a revolve, anything that's going to allow you to draw that out and repeat that in a straight line. Features to pattern, I can either click my extrude here in my activity bar, or I can just click on the extrude shape. I'm going to click on it there so I know that everything's highlighted. Direction, it's just going to be a coat hanger and it's going to go all the way along. I'm going to click one of the lines which is parallel to the direction I want to draw it in. So that is either this line here, this line, this line. I'm going to pick that line. And you'll see that we get a repeat feature. What I'm going to do now is I want it going the other way. So dead easy. I'm just going to click these arrows and it does say if you hover over them opposite direction. Click that. I'm going to set my instance to 5. And then I'm just going to eyeball that. You might have a clear idea of how much spacing you want between each one. I don't at the minute. I'm going to set that to 45. It's a bit better. Say 55. Call it 50. There we go. And when you're done, you click the tick, and I've patterned a feature or repeated a pattern in a single direction. I can now, um, if I wanted, say, a grid of something, or I wanted several of these repeated across and down, I can click the linear pattern tool again. I can click feature pattern. I can go through and I can click both my extrude and my linear pattern that I've just done. Click my direction. If I extrude that down or repeat that down, so using one of these vertical lines, it's going to stack everything I've already done and repeat that in a grid format. So I'm going to flip the direction again, and I might want 3 of these rows. Again, probably not if you're doing a coat hanger, but there are several reasons why you might want a grid or an overlay of lots of different repeated parts going in several directions. I'm going to set the distance to 40, and we've about covered that distance. And there you have it. That is the linear part pattern tool. And the last thing I'm going to show you is the sketch pattern tool. So I'm just going to roll back those and delete the bits that I've just done. So, for example, if I'm doing several sketches, and it might be a sketch that I've taken a lot of time doing, it might be a pattern that I've um, I've come up with, and I want to make a neat repetition to make some sort of maybe a piece of art or maybe a grid where you've got lots of almost like slits in there, and you want to pattern that. All I'm going to do is I'm going to make my sketch. I'm happy with that. I think that looks good. I'm going to click on the linear pattern tool again, and you realize this is a little bit different. We're still in the sketch bar. I've not clicked my tick yet to confirm the sketch. I'm still in my sketch menu. I'm going to click linear pattern. I'm going to draw around everything. And for some reason, it's not liking those curves. Um, try it again. I don't know if that's a problem with the linear pattern tool. What we can do is we can go back. I'll try and find that out for the next video and see if I can get you an answer on that. But it's not liking the spline for some reason. What I will do is make some sort of grid shape instead. Bear with me while we do this. So I'm just going to use the mirror tool to make sure it's all symmetrical. Do, 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 do. And I've got my grid. I might want to do lots of things with that. I might want to cut through, but I want to repeat my sketch first before I produce that cut. Again, you're probably going to spend much more time on this than me. But you're going to click the linear pattern tool in the sketch menu, select everything you've got. And now the only difference thing here is, and I think this makes it a lot easier, which is why I prefer to repeat the sketch rather than the feature, is I've got these handlebars. So I can just pull it out, see whereabouts looks good. I've got my number there. I can just double click like a dimension. I can double click it. I want 10 of these. And I want them all concertinaed together. I can see about how far between each one I've got. 26 looks about right. Let's make it nice around 25. It's going to put 25 mil in between each section. And when I've done with that, all I need to do is click away from my page. And then if I click extrude, for example, if I was making a grid, a grill, I can either extrude them all as one or remove them all as one. And I've used the pattern to make a sketch, a repeated sketch, to make a repeated feature in that way. Okay, I hope that was useful, guys. We're going to be looking at the circular pattern tool in the next session. If you've got any questions or you want me to go over anything, just leave a comment down below. And if you like the video, just give it a like. Thank you.